So lawmakers also probing today's witnesses for more information about the origins of the FBI investigation into the Trump campaign. Former National Security Council official Fiona Hill was asked about her closed-door deposition, which she talked about former British agent Christopher Steele. He was the source of the unverified, salacious so-called Trump dossier paid for by Fusion GPS, the Democratic National Committee, and others. She said that Steele might have been given disinformation by the Russians in order to create a cloud over the Trump presidency.
Was Christopher Steele's dossier a rabbit hole? Do you remember the answer you gave to that question?
Yes, I thought it was a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and you also said a couple pages later in the deposition, or in the transcript that I have here of your deposition, that you thought he got played. Is that fair?
That is fair, yes.
Well, after weeks of public and private testimony, Democrats are looking to get a bipartisan vote for impeaching the president. They've had their eye on key GOP targets, like retiring Republican Congressman Will Hurd. Well, as of today, still appears unconvinced.
An impeachable offense should be compelling, overwhelmingly clear, and unambiguous, and it's not something to be rushed or taken lightly. I've not heard evidence proving the president committed bribery or extortion.
So will any members of the GOP crossover? Let's discuss with House GOP Conference Vice Chair Mark Walker. Good to have you with us, Congressman.
Always a privilege. Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, so I want to play something that the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said today about why they have moved in this direction and why they really had no other choice.
As the first order of business, take an oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And when we see a violation of the Constitution, we have no choice but to act.
We know she didn't want to go down this path, at least for the last several months. There have been previous votes on moving ahead with impeachment, and she had resisted those efforts. But now she and the House Intel Chair, Adam Schiff, and House Judiciary Chair, Jerry Nadler, and others felt like they had a strong enough case to proceed. So do you think that there will be any Republicans convinced enough to move to the other side of the vote?
No, not at all. In fact, it's the opposite. All this week, we heard about presumptions and assumptions time and time again. My first boss, Vic Flo, I remember he used to tell me what happens when you assume, but because my mom is watching, I won't go into detail. This is a huge issue for them. Even if you're, Shannon, even if you're not one of the 60 million Trump supporters, even if you're not thrilled about everything that kind of unraveled here, most fair-minded people will look at this process and say, wait, you're wanting us to leap to the point that you want us to tell the president or convict the president of something that's treasonous or high crimes. They're just not buying it. And we've even seen that in the most recent poll, the Emerson poll, that was released in the last day or so, saying that Americans are getting less. In fact, it's inverted. More Americans are against the impeachment process, 15% drop among independents.
Okay, so how do you respond to pieces like this one in the Washington Post? I believe this is from an opinion piece, but the headline, "Imagine defending Trump after this week's hearings. Oh, wait." It says, after this week's impeachment testimony, if Republicans continue to insist that dear leader President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong, and they might do just that, then the GOP has surrendered any claim to being a political party. It would be a full-fledged cult of personality. Is that how you see yourself, Congressman?
Well, I will tell you this, even in their heading, they said seeing anything that Trump did wrong. That's not what this is about. This is saying, is he guilty of high crimes, misdemeanors, treason? The Democrats are setting themselves up for three major problems. Number one, there are no Republicans that are engaging this process. In fact, it's just the other way around. Speaker Pelosi said that she wouldn't move forward unless it was bipartisan. Number two, I think something that's very important is that we're seeing the Dems continuing to break promises. And number three, and this is important, if this thing goes to a Senate trial, think about calling the whistleblower. Think about calling Adam Schiff. I can promise you this, it won't be the same Schiff, different day.
Okay. My grandmother's watching, too, so very nicely, carefully worded response there. I want to play something today that Daniel Holmes said in testimony. He's the one who allegedly overheard he testified that he overheard the conversation with Ambassador Sondland and the president on the phone. He's the political affairs counselor at the U.S. Embassy in Kiev. I don't know if we've been mispronouncing it wrong for the past 20 years. Anyway, here's what he said about the impression he got about the president's aims.
My clear impression was that the security assistance hold was likely intended by the president either as an expression of dissatisfaction with the Ukrainians, who had not yet agreed to the Burisma Biden investigation, or as an effort to increase the pressure on them to do so.
So again, he and Fiona Hill testifying again about their concerns about how this was communicated to the Ukrainians, the worries the Ukrainians had, and the dangers of withholding this aid. So does this all now amount to enough to say that the president has done something impeachable?
No, not at all. And I think here's the question I think that's going to be asked when we get back to D.C. Over the next couple of weeks is how many more Democrats will cross the picket line and vote with Republicans. We've already had two. We're anticipating more. The Republicans will stay united on this because we're hearing from the American people. I landed this afternoon. I've been in 2 counties already. All I'm hearing is the same thing. Go and make sure the Democrats do not continue to carry out this sham impeachment process.
Well, we know all the members are home now for at least 10 or 12 days, somewhere in there. And I imagine that they'll get a lot of feedback on a number of topics, including this one. Congressman, we'll see you probably during and certainly after that break. Thank you for your time.
Yes, wishing you and Biscuit a happy Thanksgiving week.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep her away from the turkey. Thank you, sir.
All right.